welcome to the fourth episode of our CXChangersTalks. Today with Tim Holm, who will introduce himself a little later after some introductory word. So today it's about UX and CRM. So, because when people talk about CRM systems, managers talk about CRM systems, it's functions and features. How can a process be managed? How can it be improved? And UX, usability are afterthoughts at best. Result is, people don't like it. It's abysmal usability and the adoption is not too high as well. So now the basic question is, how can that be changed? And that's why Tim is here, who, well, should now introduce himself. Hey Tim.
Hi Thomas and hi everybody. I'm really happy to be here today. And yes, today we talk about user experience and customer experience. As I said, my name is Tim. I work for SAP. I'm leading the sales team for Middle Eastern Europe for the Sales and Service Cloud. And before that, I was working 1.5 years for Salesforce. And before that, I was covering the ERP part for SAP. I'm living in Germany, in Hamburg. Yeah, quite a journey with also different solutions, not always CX. And I mean, why user experience matters for me. I think user experience and also customer experience is like on an individual basis, and we see it in everything we do, and we do things because of how the experience is. And for example, in my role and also in my different roles as sales reps, I think it's really important that the CRM has a good user experience, because I know how many nights I spend to create a quote, or how long does it take to track my activities and opportunities in the system to have a good reporting so everybody's seeing what I'm doing. And I also know how bad it is if I do not get all the information I need as a sales rep out of the CRM. So I'm really happy to talk today about this. And I think it's a really important topic for everybody.
Yeah, it is. Let's get into right in the middle of it. So what is good UX? What contributes to it?
Yes, I think before that we need to differentiate between user experience and customer experience. So user experience is, for me, everything how we use something, how intuitive, for example, is a tool, and how I use it as, I would say, as a user, how it's said user experience. And customer experience is on the broader end, how also an experience come to me as a customer, for example, when I do some online shopping, or if I buy in a B2B context a bigger machine for my factory or something like that. And the question is how user experience what are the benefits of user experience? And when I see, and when maybe also the audience see how you use tools, I mean, if you're having a good user experience, it's much more likely that you use the tool on a regular basis on one hand, and on the other hand, you'll be much more productive. So the quote in the end will not take the entire night to be created. It will maybe take an hour or less. Yeah. So for an overall context of the company, you are much more productive. This will also in the end makes your customers happy, because they get the offer maybe quicker in the end, and this will boost your revenue of the company and also reduce the cost, because it's more adaptable for all the employees and make the employees more happy to work with the tool.
Why then isn't it regarded earlier?
That's
made part of the implementation decisions of the purchasing decisions.
That's actually a good question. So when you see some studies and reports in the internet, so it says that from Usability Geek, for example, that a good user experience of the CRM increased the revenue by 46%, and also another study that it will be increased by a good user experience for all KPIs by 83%. So the question is why the companies are not looking at good user experience. And when I look also in my work and all the customers and companies we are talking to, I think one main issue is that you cannot change a system like also a historical grown system like quickly. And as I said, it's historically grown. The processes are running in a way, and maybe the urgency is not seen as too big to change it, because in somehow the overall business is running. But the question is where you want to go, if you maybe want to scale your business, and when is the break-even point that maybe the old homegrown systems are not working and running anymore.
What are good KPIs? You said those KPIs are improved by up to 83%, which is quite amazing actually. So what are these main KPIs?
I mean, it depends on which kind of business you are working in and what kind of KPIs the tool is affecting. But when we're looking for a CRM, I mean, the main KPI is the overall revenue. Then also I would say something like employee attrition, for example. Because I also met colleagues who left the company because they were so frustrated by the processes that they do not see any worth to spend like more than 50% of the time with just administrating the software instead of doing the real business. For us as sales, like selling stuff, not only software. I mean, it's for all parts, and it could also be, for example, when you're running HR teams. Hiring employees, it's like overall like depending on which team and what tools they're using, but for sales it's mainly I would say the revenue in the end and the customer satisfaction.
Looking into the various roles that are there, I mean, we are CRM guys at the end of the day. So there's sales, service, and marketing. What are the expectations of the various user groups? Are they vastly different in your experience, or are they kind of sort of the same?
So in the end, I think the main point is that you need an intuitive tool to do the task you are working on a daily basis in an efficient way. For example, when you're working in customer service, you need all your information of your customer who is calling you at your fingertips. When you're working in marketing, you need a tool to easily send out marketing campaigns. And also, I mean, this also affects in the end what is the customer in the end receiving. And when you're working in sales, it's actually a good CRM and not. And a good CRM is maybe not only one tool. I mean, we see a lot of customers who have plenty of tools for the entire sales process. And there's the question, is that the solution we are looking for, or is it maybe an end-to-end solution when you have 20 tabs open on your laptop to create your next quote or to find information within your company for your customers?
I knew that I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah,
I rarely
exactly.
have less than 20 tabs.
And back to your first question, I mean, why it's not? I even do not understand why it's not seen for companies as the highest priority. Because I think the data of your customer isn't it the new gold in our world? Because all the information you got in your systems, like also in your databases about your customer, will help you to serve your customer right. And that's maybe the challenge. And I'm looking forward that it's more seen in the future by customers, that customer experience really matters and user experience is really important to fulfill it.
Now you opened up a fascinating train of thought. What's the correlation between good data and user experience?
Good question. So I think good user experience will help to collect and make sure that you have validated data within your systems.
Okay.
Because when you have a tool that's not user-friendly, we as a sales reps will not maintain the information correctly, for example, contacts at a customer or any activities, and then in the end, you cannot serve all. I mean, this will come back to the customer experience that will be missed.
So it's kind of a virtuous circle. You know? So having good UX gets good data improves the outcomes, the ease of work with the system. Yeah.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah, we shouldn't go with yes or no questions here.
This is what you learn in your first sales training. Yeah.
It makes it far too easy.
True.
So do you have any practical examples? I mean, you do sell, you do and did sell. So what are some prime examples that you could bring forward?
Yeah, also, I mean, for example, why also the customers are not starting, or maybe how they can change it. or what I often see, I phrase it like that. What I often see is that the business and the IT is decoupled. And for example, the business, the sales teams have a huge need of changing the software because of the user experience they are working with. But the IT teams are so stuffed with so many different projects, not only for the sales business, that actually the CRM topic, for example, is deprioritized because of some other project, for example, in the ERP space or supply chain. I mean, supply chain is a big topic at the moment. And then this causes that business teams are getting their own maybe standalone solutions, and this will cause that we have a fragmented IT landscape at the customer. So the business for different sales teams, for example, using different CRMs, but in the end, the idea of the company is that all data is in the overall company CRM, which is maybe not a user-friendly tool, and this is the reason why they're using different tools. And this will cause that you have a siloed landscape, and this bringing back to an end-to-end overall approach is like really challenging for the companies, I think.
So you are a platform advocate.
I think an end-to-end solution is a good approach, that you not should start doing standalone projects without speaking to other teams within your company. But I think that starting small is sometimes the right solution, but it should be communicated. For example, we just had a customer who had an urgent topic with lead recognition and maintaining on the leads. And they started to implement a new CRM just for this case, and because the old CRM was not capable to do it, and I mean not the modern CRM. Also, and so they started in the first step just with the process of the lead management, and then bringing step by step in the next months more functionalities from the old CRM and the new solution, which helping actually. In the first step, of course, the user experience was a little bit broken for the end users because they're using two different tools. But I mean, it's always also from a user experience, it's kind of a change management, because you see it yourself. I mean, when Spotify, for example, is putting another button somewhere else, in the first moment you are kind of stuck and you need some time to adapt the new functionalities. And even maybe the user interface is old and not intuitive, and the users are complaining about it. When you're changing the process and the user, so the front end itself, it will need to take some time to change also the people behind, because they already, adapt the old processes. Or was too into it, yeah.
They're bringing up another quite exciting point, because good UX is something that's on a time scale. So I mean, what was good in, let's say, 2005 is probably looked at as prehistoric today. So how can companies keep up with those changing user demands and user requirements and possibilities that are there?
Good question. I just think back when I had my first iPhone. It was the iPhone 3GS, the white one. And now when I'm looking back at how the UI of this iPhone is compared to the UI now, it's like completely different. But I think what Apple did. I mean, it can be seen as a cloud software, because they're just releasing new iOS new iOS versions on a regular basis, and bringing up me as an iPhone user on a yearly basis to a new, modern, state-of-the-art user interface. And actually every year I feel, okay, this actually makes sense that this button is there or this button is there, and you have this new functionality. So in other words, also for a CM solution, even if it's a hard step, I recommend to switch to a cloud solution, because then when you are there, you will get all the new functionalities, all the new user experience, the design, you will get it on a regular basis, so you do not have to take the struggle, make sure that your system is always up to date. The second thing is change your mindset. Do not think never change a running system, because you will come to a point where you need to change because your system will not scale anymore. And then every year you wait, you have to do even more work later on. And actually, the third point is doing kind of a feedback loop. I would not recommend that IT and business is running just standalone. Just speak to each other and see, okay, where can you have quick wins, and how you bring these teams together to make actually, in the end, both happy. Because when they or both doing their own thing, I think in the end, then you will also get a bad user experience.
In closing, because we are running out of time, sadly, we should continue that in another conversation for hours in plural. It appears that there's quite some ongoing change management necessary to keep up a good user experience. How do you recommend putting that into an organization? This comes back to my last point. Before you start a project, really identify the processes you want to change, where you really have a need, and then talk to the relevant users, because they need to change. And when how often you speak to friends and colleagues who are working for different companies, and then they say, okay, yeah, we got a new tool, but then they are complaining because the old one is not running anymore, because they were not included in the decision process itself and also not in the designing phase. So start from the beginning on with all relevant stakeholders, then define quick wins, so that also the user groups are seeing, okay, this is really working and it makes sense. And then also change management is like a really big topic. Just make sure that you have this topic in mind from your first day, how you change also the mindset of all the users to use the new tool. Because the worst thing that can happen, you implement a new tool and nobody is using it. And even if it's maybe a good user, has a good UI. Okay, so in closing, because we are really, this 15 minutes are just too short. So
that's true.
the summary is, it's not AI first, but UX first.
Yes.
Probably. Yeah. And for everybody who, like me, found that this is too short, or this was too short, on September 13, it was just looking here at my notes, and they are in American format, not in German format, so I needed to translate. On September 13 at 5 p.m. CET, there will be a CXChangers community call where we can discuss this topic a little longer, because we have an hour, and more opinions, not just some stupid guy asking questions and then not so, and another one doing his best to answer them. So thanks for being here, Tim, and see you soon in the next call. And thanks for everybody who was in attendance, and there still are some. We didn't bore them to death, which is good news.
Super. Thomas, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the CX talk, the community talk, and have a great discussion, because I think this is a really, really interesting and important topic. Have a great evening or day, everybody.
Bye, everybody.